Okay. All right. Hello. Let's get this started. I know it's rather a few weeks late, but better late than never. Okay. Sorry, I have a bunch of trash I need to get rid of on my floor. So, Super Bowl trailers. Oh, goodness me. Well, the only two things I'm really going to talk about that I feel compelled to talk about of any real significance that still stay in mind is the X-Men 97 and the Deadpool trailer. Deadpool trailer is actually setting itself up to be reasonably pretty good. I believe it's going to not necessarily as advertised in the movie, you're going to restore or bring balance to the force that is the MCU. I think it will make people feel glad that there's another Deadpool movie that it's another superhero Marvel property ish that will not suck. So that's pretty much what we're hoping. So we can just say, hey, that was actually fun. I enjoyed watching that. I may enjoy watching that again. As earlier, where it's like, oh, it's the Eternals. Or, oh, it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Bullshit and the 8 bullshit plot MacGuffins. Or, She-Hulk. Or Echo. Or, all that other bullshit everyone keeps thinking. Well, people at Disney keep thinking, yeah, sure, we'll write. That's what that is. Well, write off on that. Okay, let's send that out there. It's terrible. How can that be? We're professionals. It's like, we should know what is good and bad, storytelling, cinema, art photography, writing. Right? Right? But it's like, we're Disney. We're quality. Nope, you put the money before the quality. That's why it sucks ass. So then when you said, oh, well, it's a shitty script, we'll put $200 million onto it. We're barely made like $100 million back. How can that be? Well, you gave it to all the wrong people, gave it to the wrong writer, gave it to a reasonably competent director, and then told no one to do their homework on the source material. Gee, I wonder what went wrong. Anyway, so this is where Disney finds itself. So hopefully this will help. Now on to the more painful side of this. We've been heard for a while, the follow-up sequel to the early 90s hit success cartoon, The X-Men. Now, this I take very, very personally, because this is a part of my childhood. This is when you, along with Eek the Cat and, what else was I watching? Eek the Cat and, oh god, Power Rangers and everything else, that I used to watch after a hard day of middle school, because this was 93. After a hard time at middle school, I come home and I watch this thing. So I would find that this is a very, right off the bat, it was a very, it had political elements. It talked about it. Said, this is not just some little town somewhere having a dispute or whatever, or a regular cartoon. This is not some short. This is an overarching story. So you could tell right off from episode 1, this is a story. This is a saga. This is one of my first sagas. Remember, before this was all this little, like those little Disney one-off cartoons or whatever. Squirrels hitting each other over the head with mallets. This is not Tom and Jerry. This is not, anything close to this would probably be Thundercats, honestly. But even then, it's this, localized story, no real consequence in anything else, So, and you're getting older and you're kind of getting tired of the little one-off little cartoons and never really have sequels to anything anymore, You want a bit more, well, not exactly adult, but you want something a bit more older audience, you're transitioning into teenager. You want something a bit more adult orientated so you can understand more complex themes, That's what the Batman the Animated Series did. That's what Gargoyles did. And this is what X-Men are doing, So, and it was big premiere on Fox, X-Men, the big promotion for it. I know every kid in America is like watching this show, and it comes on, and from frame one or episode one, this is a different story. This is political. This has, all the check boxes of, there is, racism, rampant racism, hatred, hate mongering. People are assholes because someone is, gasp, different. Oh, So neither they fear it or they hate it. That's one of the two sides you can be on that side of things. And yeah, it really showed the isolationistness of, being a mutant, being different, and it showed, it's like, I'm just eating a hot dog here. What the hell? It's like, I'm not causing anybody any trouble. But, shit happens anyway. It's like I don't know what else to do. And so it showed the struggle of this storyline, and it shows this ragtag team of heroes, vandalizing and destroying the mutant registration files because, hey, someone's using this Mutant Registration Act as a means to track down and kidnap with giant robots, discreetly, might I add. They are bigger than a house, Yeah, it's right, discreet. So they went and destroyed the files so that they can prevent other mutants from being kidnapped. And one of their team members gets shot, and the rest is history. So, like I said, from episode 1 and 2, which was premiered, episode 1, episode 2, back to back, they usually would do that in the premiere to get that more of a cinematic experience. For the full hour of X-Men, the animated series. You got characters dealing with loneliness, depression. Rogue being the isolationist in the group. She can't touch anybody. She has gloves on all the time, and Gambit's constantly flirting with her. And the series showed quality. It had a limited budget, but it had, it utilized its money well. Nothing felt wasted or spent. It was all doing really rather well. It wasn't Disney, but it was really good. Writing is good. You had animation that's reasonably, not exactly top notch, but it utilized its strengths and weaknesses well. It knew it wasn't this seamless, fluidic animation, but it was, it used its tones, shading with lighting well. So you get a sense of depth. And it doesn't hurt that, of course, the character designs are rather a bit, mature, which is nice. Because you kind of get tired of everyone looking like a cartoon character. Like, give people reasonable, looking like real people, And So the thing took itself seriously, and it knew when to be tongue in cheek, when to be, funny, and then when to be serious, and when to be action orientated, and when to give only certain characters, when it's appropriate, the punchline, which was usually Wolverine or Jubilee, and to occasionally Rogue, and now it's okay. Not everyone has to be quippy. Not everyone has to have a zinger or a one-liner or to cap off a moment to say something. Not everyone has to have that. So it's okay. And you get compelled because, like, okay, what next? What next? What next? What's happening next episode? And always something comes along to compel you to watch the next episode. And it went on for seasons. I have the whole series right there behind me. It took me a while to get that. And I'm glad I did. Along with a few other Marvel animated properties back there, too. And honestly, it's still compelling. They're still as compelling, But X-Men will always hold a special place in my heart. Because it's also when the O.J. Simpson trial started up, and I'm like, where's my X-Men? Where's my Power Rangers? What the hell happened? And it's like, oh, well, we're watching this thing, on every channel. Damn it. So what am I supposed to do? So I already did my homework. What now? Well, we're watching how the LAPD screwed up on the DNA evidence because, I don't know, they don't know how to do DNA evidence. The whole procedure was far too new, and everything was new technology, the 90s, the future. What's it, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or it must have been a different trial later on, but there was the fiber optic cable running from the courthouse to the apartment or something, or to the hotel, something like that. I remember some case somewhere running the first thing, the fiber optics, early use of fiber optics, proof of concept or whatever, I think it was. Or could have been a different trial some years later. I cannot recall 100%, but I remember a lot of everything going on in the O.J. Simpson trial was slow, and it's being presented in a very boring manner. So here I am, all of, I was like 13, 14, something like that. Waiting every day for this stupid thing to be over. So finally in middle school, this was my first year of middle school when that finally ended, like a year and a half later or something like that. Then the trial's over, and then all the cartoons came back, or something like that. It took forever. It was like forever for this show to come back. And I'm there like, ooh, it's on. And I watched the rest of the series. It was really good. The last season, the only weird drawback to that is that the animation style changed. The animators were not the same animators. They were the weird, squishy, kind of, they never moved like they did. They're moving differently. If you look at the two seasons back to back or side by side, you'll see the difference. And it's annoying, but it does happen. Like the first season of Kim Possible versus the rest of the series versus, let's see here, last season of Gargoyles. I know that changed up its animation, and quite a few shows would do that, or some shows did that. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but you would notice this strange sense of what happened there. This is different. Batman, I don't think did that. I don't think so. I think it stayed pretty consistent, or at least if it changed, it did so very, very, very subtly. You wouldn't notice right off unless you're paying extremely close detail. Spider-Man stays basically the same. The original first series, not Spider-Man Amazing Friends, not that one. The 90s one with the rock ballad. Anyway, so yes, let's get to the cringe parts. Enough nostalgia. Let's get to the cringe. So it showed previously on X-Men. Oh wait, sorry, they didn't. I'm sorry, they didn't say that. Because what they would do in the beginning of each episode would be Scott's voice would come in narrating, and the X-Men logo will pop up saying previously on X-Men. Cool. So we're all caught up. This time we'll just start at the end of the last series, where Professor Xavier, I'm guessing, died. I don't know. I kind of thought that they maybe kind of sort of saved him a little bit with the Shi'ar Empire coming in for the save not at the last second, after the last second. But I thought there was like maybe he might still be alive, something. Anyway, but the team is basically on their own, and Xavier's fate is to be left to the writers for whatever future timeline they wanted. So I thought, okay, well, that's the end. New chapter. It's been like 4 or 5 seasons, so I'm pretty sure they're just going to just let it go. So now they brought it back and said, okay, so that's what happened last time. It's on them without Xavier. And I'm like, okay, bring in the music, good. And what is with this? What's with the shading? There's too much shading. And the animation is even worse than it was in the last season. So I'm like, okay. And then came the dialogue. Wolverine, which I doubt is the original voice actor from the original series. I'm not sure. There's like 2 lines in this whole thing, and it sounds very stilted. It sounds very one word at a time dialogue. As if somehow this is being reenacted and voiced. Oh, right. They're taking down a party tent up front of the neighbor's house. That's what that is. If you can hear those pipes banging. So, yeah, as if this story was scripted and acted by Captain Kirk. You know, so it has this very wooden dialogue delivery, and it's like, what? And to me, my X-Men. It's like that. It's just like, you can't just give it a bit more oomph, like, to me, my X-Men. Give it something. Project, emote, do something. But it just sounds so wooden and stilted. And it's like, I'm not a fan of this animation. I'm not a fan of this dialogue. And like other reviewers have said, this has Disney's fingerprints all over it. I guess they ran out of money, because then it's not really good animation. They only got back maybe a handful of the original, voice actors. I have to check on that, but it doesn't sound like they did. Got back. I think they probably got back Rogue and maybe Storm. I'm not sure. And then there is the character design. Now, I've mentioned previously that the character design is also what really sold it as being serious, because these are, people with arms and legs and human proportions. Now, if you look at it, it's very bland and blah and just, okay. It's very unappealing. It's very unexciting. It's very safe. That's the thing. The original series wasn't safe. The original series had, not necessarily death, but it had characters being in peril, characters suffering, characters getting their asses kicked. It showed hatred and discrimination, fear and hate mongering. It was not safe. It was very real. These are real emotions by real characters. You get a sense that this is how real people act when they feel stupidly threatened by their own imagination, basically. Stuff you see on the news, stuff you see in real life. And that's why you respect it, because it comes at you. It doesn't talk down to you. It doesn't try to kiss your ass. It's just an adventure series that takes itself seriously at least 60% of the time. Something like that. Whatever percentage you think it is. It deals with family a lot of the time. I know that. And it says, yeah, family isn't always with you. Family, it doesn't always have your back. This shit is just as dramatic as it is with strangers. And this show is going to try to, again, with Disney and Marvel's trying to nostalgia bait you again. It's trying to say, hey, it's the X-Men. It's a continuation of that early. Remember how awesome that was? Well, we're going to continue it again. And this time, we're going to make it modern. Because making it modern is what makes it better. Why? Nothing they've modernized in anything made anything better in entertainment. We make things better. It's modernized. It's like, look, I know things are a product of its freaking time. I know that, but trying to modernize it doesn't make it better. It's never made it better. Because they say modern with progressive. They try to say that, but no, that means woke, which means stupid. It just means needlessly new rules you have to abide in order to have your product being sold or distributed. So, I didn't know who this was at first, but apparently Morph now looks like a white or gray alien. He's in the background, in the back corner. And it's like, he has a standard look. He's a guy, right? Oh, well, he's a non-binary and he looks like a gray alien now. Why? Well, for the non-binaries to identify with. We needed that? Really? The show really needed that? Well, see, there's too many white guys on this team, so we need to diversify. And you can tell it's a studio note. And the reason The Simpsons were successful in the 90s and, solely in the 90s was because they famously or infamously ignored studio notes. Whenever a studio note would come down, they would say, yeah, you keep minding the store. I'll keep doing my job and being awesome. And that's why The Simpsons were successful. They were 90s, what's that word? Satire. They were a reflection of the modern American family in the 90s. That's why each decade has, that's why Modern Family was so successful, because it's supposed to be, the everyday life of the now generation, or now family of this decade. Same was with Married with Children, and the Roseanne, and everybody else. Everyone has their own little corner, and this is our little neck of the woods. And he says, and people would identify with, or maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. Upper or lower middle class, people understood certain things. Different Strokes was about two little Afro-American boys being adopted by their godparent, more or less, because their mother died, who was a good friend to this guy. So it's like, okay, let's go live in this rather nice apartment, and understand what it means to not have to worry about where your next meal comes from. Not have to be defined. Because lots of people keep getting defined by their environment and thinking that's okay. But no, it's not. You have to survive that particular 2-block jungle. And it's like, no. 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 Just don't have to be. You can be yourself. You can be, an individual. But that's another topic. Point is, uh, this these successful shows have their own time and place. And yes, they are products of their time. But that's what America was. America has all these diverse, different things. Different jobs, different family structures, different different places. East Coast versus West Coast. How's the lifestyle in the South versus the North? Dealing with snow or the tropical or desert-like regions, or the the plains. Not aeroplanes. Places. How do you call it? The wide open plains. That plane. So people, have these shows that say this is where you live. This is the type of structure these characters inhabit and imbibe, and stories they go on. And a lot of them are comedies, comedic elements, but they also come at you straight. That's what people respect, is that they come at you straight. They're not all jokey, 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 ha ha ha. It's like, no, you can come at them straight. You can come. What was it I was listening to last night? A review from the Cinema Snob about a movie called The Best Man, I think it was. I think. It could have been something else. But anyway, Brad Jones and company in the car again. We're talking about this movie where it was all just, dick and fart jokes and blah, blah, blah. The wife dies of cancer, and he says, and everything's sudden. Nothing is developed to take time. It's all just, okay, now we're doing this scene. Okay, and now we're doing this scene. We're doing this joke, just joke. Oh, here's the drama, joke, joke, joke. And then we're doing this scene. So he describes this movie as just being a mess because it's all just suddenly happening. And then we're doing this. And then after a wedding, then we have a sex scene. And it's like, a funeral. And then a sex scene. It's like, and then it's like a year later, and then they're giving birth. It's like, nothing in this movie sounds very, paced out properly at all. It tries to just do all the jokes, some serious moments, and then more jokes, And so, but that's what a lot of these shows do, is that they take their time, they develop something, they have good compelling characters. They say, this week, this character is doing this, and let's see how that plays out. And there's some irony to it, sure, fine. But it has more real life events. Jackie's, boyfriend abuse. Roseanne going through problems at the plastic factory, Her trying to schedule her life around everything. Dan and Roseanne's marriage. What was it? The kid stealing the car. The kids going to a concert, with a friend they thought was the upstanding type, but turns out is, willing to make out with some guys, strangers in a van. It's like, oh, what? Like, the daughter was saying, goes, man, I'm feeling like I'm in the middle of a really bad after school special. It's like, yeah, stranger danger and all that. And so these shows come at you seriously, and that's why everyone loves them. And this is not going to be one of them. This is something that's going to try to be one of them. It's going to try, and it's going to fail hard. It's like, I'm telling you, unless this pulls off some goddamn miracle, this story is just going to be just another one to the pile of what the hell were they thinking that this was going to work. It's like one of those old... Okay. Let me just wrap this up here. Okay. Aviation. Man wanted to fly since the first time he looked up and saw a bird like 10 bajillion thousands of years ago. He said, wouldn't it be nice if I could do that? And since then, man is always trying to understand, how do you fly? Okay, you need to be lightweight. Okay, you need wings to begin with. I was like, okay, fine. And so man tried to discover the concept of aerodynamics. Okay. Try and try and try again. We made things fly. We made paper airplanes. We made kites. People saying, yeah, we can get things up in the air and kind of keep them up there for a reasonable amount of time, but we can't get us up there and stay up there for a reasonable amount of time. And people tried wacky inventions and tried to say, okay, that doesn't work. That kind of sort of maybe worked for like all of 2 seconds. Okay. And then they tried this, they tried this, and they tried this. Trial and error for hundreds of thousands of years. Men have tried. People have tried. Got better at it, little at a time. Horrific amounts of evolution. Bizarre evolution. People tried multi-layered wings. Maybe that will work. That thing broke in half before it even got off the ground. Concept of the engine really helped. And then, right around turn of the century, the Wright brothers finally, figured it out. This is how you do it. And then aviation started. People made bigger and faster planes, more durable planes to do stealth or supersonic. We've mastered aviation, because we did what works. Yes, there was that crazy bit at the turn of the century where people were saying, all right, let's just do everything. We'll just try to figure this out. So you have all this footage and designs of people saying, I think I got this, I think I got this, I think I got this. And they barely did. They had minor kind of effects. They're like, I was flying through the air, and then I crashed into the river. Well, I was up there for like 2 seconds. Yeah, but that's falling with style. That's not flying. That's falling with style. There's a difference. So, again, we can look back at those silly designs now that turn the century and think, that's not going to work. We already know what works. And with Disney now, looking back on it, because it's a corporation. It's not an artist studio anymore. It's a corporation. Which means the bottom line is their dollars, not the art. So it's like reversing. Like, we already know what works. It's like having a Boeing 747 or a hang glider. And yet somehow this big, it's like saying like Boeing or whatever, people that make planes suddenly going back to those designs at the turn of the century and saying, yeah, it'll work. Why wouldn't it work? It's like, no. See, plane over here. Why are you going back to this silliness? It's like that. It's like, why are you do like Disney? Why are you doing something that clearly does not work, and yet putting it out there and expecting it to work? It's not going to. It just simply will not work. And that's the best analogy, the best plain way I could possibly make all this current era of Disney, Marvel, LucasArts bullshit is they do it all wrong, expecting it to work like gangbusters, and end up not making any money. Wash, rinse, repeat. Not getting my money. I stopped going to their movies because they suck ass. And I don't know how much harder, these people have to lose. They already lost like a couple $1 billion, before they get it through their thick heads. You need the right people for the right jobs. Have the right writers write these things. You can't put a documentarian and say, yeah, they could, write an action film. They're a documentarian. They don't do action. Duh. You know. Alright, so that's as best as I could get it. It's just all wrong. It has no discernible positive points throughout the entire trailer. It looks like they're trying to try something new. Okay. But, it just feels more like another property, another IP trying to cling to the coattails of an existing previous property and say, we're going to ride that title all the way to the grave. Because it's like they're just stupid enough to think it'll work. When by all logical means, it's not going to. I don't need a crystal ball for that, people. No one does. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. And, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just not going to work. The Deadpool and Wolverine movie will work better. How do I know this? Because it will not be helmed directly by Disney. I know that much. So, it'll be helmed by people who are reasonably competent. Will it be perfect? No. Will they have failings? Sure. Will it be better than anything else I've seen come out of the Marvel for the past, 18 months to 2 years? Yes. How do I know this? Because it's a Marvel Fox Network property. It's a Marvel Disney property. Less studio notes, less direct interference would be my best bet. Alright, that's it. I'm tired. I need to go eat. Alright, take care all. And remember, if you're going to do something, do it right. That's how people respect you. They see the quality. The original writer of the X-Men, I met him at a convention. You know what everybody, including me, did? We all shook his hand and thanked him. Yeah, that's what we did. We thanked him for the quality, for the hard work, the hours put into this. Because when it came to the X-Men, we liked it because it had quality. It took itself seriously. It was written well. Which isn't easy. You have to be the right guy for that. Oh, and by the way, he was African American. Just putting that out there. I didn't need to say that. But putting it out there. Everybody shook this man's hand. Everybody looked him in the eye and thanked him. Wholeheartedly. So did I. Because I respect a good writer who brought something into my life in a time where the number of good days were not as were being reduced. There's not as many good days anymore. There's a lot more bad days. And what's considered a good day was just not having something bad happen. That was considered a good day. And this guy, with the help of I don't know how many other people, managed to bring a little joy and entertainment into my life during that time. There's something interesting, compelling, thought-worthiness. And above all, took itself seriously when it needed to. And that's why we loved it. That's why we thanked him. Thanks, guy, if you're watching this. Thank you. Alright, so I guess that's about it. Take care, all, and, again, see you at the movies.